Last week we had an unannounced visit from law enforcement in the middle of the night, and we're moving so slowly that we literally got out and swam. This week that slow speed comes back to bite us as we run critically low on fuel. The situation is we're adrift with no motors and subsequently almost get run down by an unresponsive vessel.
Time to impact, 3 minutes and 27 seconds.
Things are getting critical here on Scout. We have 4 big fuel tanks, 2 big water tanks, and most of them are empty. Both water tanks are beeping empty at me. I gotta make water. I haven't been doing it because it's been hot. I've been running the engine. The high pressure pump on my water maker is overheating, or the switch is overheating. I've got another one coming to Panama, but I gotta work with what I got right now, so that's overheating quickly. I'm gonna put a big blue fan on it, industrial fan, hopefully keep it cool. I've got the engine in here turned off for now. I'm running the engine on the other side. But anyway, we're kind of redlining it here.
Between the sun and the deep blue sea, my feet in the sand, green umbrella drink in my hand. That's where you find
Took a big flight around the boat. Just decided that maybe he's not quite ready to fly. Just gonna hang out here on the sugar scoop for a bit. Enjoy the beautiful sunrise. The islands that make up the San Blas archipelago are a world-famous cruising destination.
Yep.
With their stunning islands, remote feel, and the rich culture of the Guna people.
Can we get some lobsters?
We had hoped to spend a few days here with Grandma on board, but our passage was going so slow that by the time we got there, we only had a few hours to spare.
That's okay.
While Nate used the time to continue scrubbing barnacles off the hulls, the rest of us were treated to a surprise visit from some locals.
So, these native people came here and sold us lobsters in Spanish, and we are terrible with our Spanish. I'm personally okay, but yes.
You're the worst person in Spanish on the boat.
Ask about mola.
It was a dream of my mother-in-law's to see the Guna people and their famous textiles in person. So she was thrilled when our fisherman friend said that he had some that he would bring back to the boat for us. We had no idea what a treat we were in store for when he returned with Marie, a particularly skilled artisan, and a whole bushel full of her traditional embroidered quilts, known as molas.
What is beautiful, Mama?
Bonita. It was a bit overwhelming, honestly, looking through so many. They were all so beautiful. It was a highlight of the trip, and we couldn't believe our luck that in our all too short time in the San Blas Islands, we got to have such a special experience.
We should totally get that one, Mom.
Gracias.
Gracias, buenos dias. We scored some molas. Unfortunately, with very little water on board and an overheating water maker, not to mention very little fuel, and Grandma's flight to catch, we couldn't linger any longer. It was time to go and continue our journey to Cologne.
The end of another day at sea. 2 trips have merged together because it's taken longer, and our couple days in the San Blas became a couple hours in the San Blas. Motoring up to Cologne. Every little sound I do a double take. Was that the engine sputtering because I have about 1/8 of a tank left. Hopefully enough to get us there. I have made some miscalculations and we have been going slow. So we are low on fuel, which is a situation I don't want to put myself in again. This is not fun. Hopefully we'll make it, and if we don't, Megan's a strong swimmer and lands right over there, so figure something out. Nice sunset. The situation is we're adrift with no motors, very little wind. What wind there is pointing in the wrong direction, and we're moving a knot away from where we want to go. We are 40 miles from Linton Bay, which is where fuel is. We have been motoring with one engine at about 2.5 knots. So that is 16 hours of motoring. Our diesel engine, one engine at about 2100 RPM, uses about 3 liters an hour. Okay, so 16 times 3, we need about 48 liters to get there. We have 20, 25, so 45, 15, there's 60 right here. There's another 5 that's still slowly filling up down there, so 65. I don't know for sure the 3 liters per hour. We'll have to obviously gauge that. So we should have 65 when we need 48. Couple other things working in our favor. If we get any breeze at any point in the next 16 hours, we sail. That either makes us go faster or lets us turn the engine off entirely.
Yep.
Also, it is supposed to be very calm conditions. We have plenty of fuel for the dinghy. I could comfortably dinghy 10 miles each way.
Yeah.
Right? So even if we only made it 2/3 or 3/4 of the way, right, which now we need 36 gallons, not 48, and like I said, I got 65 right here. We could, we would monitor our fuel consumption. We know where we're at. We get to a point where we throw the hook down. We're close to land. I dinghy there and back.
Yeah, my biggest concern is just running out of fuel in the night and being adrift in a situation that's...
Like right now with the big cruise ship coming at us that our thinks we're going the wrong way. Our AS is beeping because there is a collision.
Never a dull moment here on Scout.
Not GeoQuest, not GeoQuest, not GeoQuest. This is Sailing Vessel Scout, Sailing Vessel Scout, Sailing Vessel Scout. So this boat, not GeoQuest, we saw earlier, is a big cruise ship-like vessel. They're as wide as we are long, and they are on a collision course with us.
You want to do it again?
Not GeoQuest, not GeoQuest, not GeoQuest. This is Sailing Vessel Scout. So they're such a big vessel that coming that close could be dangerous. It's disappointing to me that they didn't answer our call. I don't know what the heck they're doing. Looks like we got a torpedo coming right at us. Time to impact, 3 minutes and 27 seconds. Let's go take a look at what it looks like outside. So there they are. So we're showing you this in the night vision. So they're green, but you can see the ripples in the water on from their lights. So there it is without night vision. That boat is as wide as we are long. Out of nowhere, we've got perfect sailing conditions. The winds have picked up, the angle's great. We are cruising along at beautiful 6 knots. The seas are a little jumpy, but hey, I'll take it. It just feels good to get moving again. Panama, here we come.
So it's the next morning. We've not rerun out of fuel, which is good. You had some wind, we're able to tack offshore, turn the engine off. We're getting the fuel efficiency we had hoped to get, so we are not in immediate danger of running out of fuel. Making breakfast here, we will survive. Make some coffee and hopefully things will be a little clearer on the other side. Not a great night's sleep. One thing I glossed over at the time is how did I go from both engines dying, being out of fuel, to then suddenly having a couple of jerry cans full of diesel fuel in front of me. Diesel engines don't like air in the fuel line. So as the motion of the boat causes the pickup valve in the tank to start to get air, that's going to contribute to killing the engine even though there's still fuel. Now, the fuel filter should help with that, right? And other things, so that the system is good, but it's not perfect, meaning there still will be fuel in the tank when the engine dies, right? So what I did is I've got a boost pump here, detached a hose from the the input to the engine, and ran the boost pump, and I got bubbly, foamy, milkshakey type of fuel out. But once it sits in the jerry can, so that may be difficult for the diesel engine to handle. It may die with that, but it sits in the jerry can, and the bubbles all work themselves out, and then I've got clean fuel with which to work. And I've got that times 4 tanks. I have 4 tanks, 4 pickup valves, 4 little bits of room, 4 sloshing that allows for extra fuel. So that whole process, I didn't show it. It took a couple hours, but because this pump works slowly. But that's how he came up with a couple of cans of diesel fuel, even though the engines had died. All right, here is my running out of fuel system. Fuel line here, that's the input, straight in the jerry can. Fuel line there, that's the return, straight in the jerry can. That is the system. This is me measuring my fuel efficiency and confirming that I was getting using about 3 liters an hour, which is good news. My help seat for the
boom doesn't drop.
Putting my life at the top of those hands. Well, actually the sail. A little bit.
You like to live dangerously.
We had one more night out at sea and then finally made it to Cologne, the entrance to the Panama Canal. It's a little while before we go through the canal, but it's hard for us to believe we've made it this far. I wanted to share a couple thoughts on the fuel situation. First, were we in any real danger? I don't believe so. Sailboats have obviously been going all the way around the world for years without a motor. I wouldn't want to test my skills against a lee shore or navigating into a tight anchorage, but sooner or later, the wind should be our friend. Second, we were close to shore, other boats, and law enforcement. If we weren't able to figure it out on our own, we would have been able to get help, one way or another. But how did we get into this situation in the first place? 3 reasons. 1, weather was less favorable for sailing than forecasted. 2, growth in the hulls and especially props caused us to motor inefficiently. And 3, one of my tank gauges was faulty. It was reading half a tank when it was actually empty. However, none of these items are valid excuses for me not picking up more fuel in Bonaire or Cartagena. Stuff happens at sea and I was cutting it too close. Live and learn. I won't make the same mistake again.